What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA Show, powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/All-NBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler. Legs, it's so good to be back, man. I missed you.
Yeah, man, it is good to be back, and it's especially good to be back after again. Like, I don't know what's going on right now, man, but every night we're getting great games, like really great games that are they're battling. Guys are playing or coming down to like late game finishes. This is a steady streak of this stuff now. We had a couple more last night, so I'm glad to be back with you as well.
I know everybody was probably thinking I ducked out after the Nuggets lost to the Timberwolves, but I was not the case.
You were getting hammered. You were getting hammered. Let me tell you something. James intervened in the chat because it was they were coming at you.
Really? A little pillow talk from the chat, man.
Yeah, I mean, we on the inside knew that was set up ahead of time. You were not going to be there that night, but hey, maybe that's why you set it up ahead of time. You anticipated something like that. I don't know.
All I'll say is I was not upset that I did not have to do that episode. I was not upset about it, but I know you held it down with my guy Mark Campbell. So shout out to him. On today's show, though, we're not talking about that. We are going to get into two really good games. Every game, every night has playoff implications right now. It's really shaping up nicely, man. Both conferences, but especially the Western Conference. Every single night, the standings shift. It's like we're shuffling the deck every single night, and the stakes are so big, including tonight, which is incredible. So we're going to talk Grizzlies Heat. Grizzlies getting the win over the Heat. Ja Morant, buzzer beater, a true buzzer beater. We'll get into that, but we're going to start with Warriors-Lakers because I think when these two teams match up, LeBron and Steph, just in general, it's always great. And we always have to talk about it. I know some people don't like all the Lakers talk, but you know what? This game was phenomenal. How could you not? If you like basketball, how would you not want to talk about this one? 123, 116. And in the fourth quarter was crazy because the Warriors led for most of this game and had a comfortable lead. And they finished with a bunch of big-time clutch shot making. And had they not, they would have lost because the Lakers also finished this game with an insane run of shot making. The last 3 minutes of this game, I don't think anybody missed, and they were all difficult shots.
It was incredible, really, the 3-point shot making at the end of this game, really throughout the game. Because even like the show that Pajemski put on pretty much the entire game, he came right out of the gate, first two trips, hit 2 threes, didn't hit anything but the bottom of the net. And he got into this crazy rhythm offensively because he's not really that kind of player. But he was last night, so even he was included. I thought some of the shots Austin Reaves was making in the fourth quarter to keep them in it and give them a chance were really just such incredibly difficult shots. LeBron made tough shots. Steph obviously had some late big ones. And then you had Luka. And then you had Luka, who didn't want to join. He didn't want to join the party, man. It was a party out there. Now, look, we're talking about a lot of great shot making. I actually did think, though, that's a story of the game. I thought Golden State's defense was incredible in this game. I thought their speed defensively and the number of shots the Lakers had to take that were contested was so high level. It was like really making you look hard at the Warriors as a team, potentially in the damage they can do in the postseason. And actually, it's incredible, Adam. We're sitting here after this game thinking they still have a shot at the 3 seed. The Golden State Warriors. That's how much, and the extent to which they've turned their season around. And with that particular starting lineup, they're now 13-0. At 20-4 or something like that since they got Jimmy Butler, 13-0 with this starting lineup. But their defense was the story of the game, despite the fact we're talking about all this incredible shot making.
They have a big game tonight against Denver that I think will put them in the 3 seed if they get it tonight, which is just crazy. Second night of a back-to-back. If they get those wins, I mean, everybody look out. But the defense is big. So when we talk about Oklahoma City, who has the best defense, I feel like I know what their playoff defense looks like because they play great all the way through. I'm not sure it's going to elevate. It might not need to. I mean, they're so dominant, it might not need to elevate at all. That's already playoff caliber elite defense. But I don't know. The Warriors can play great defense, but I also know they can elevate it. In a game like last night where the stakes mattered, it was effectively a playoff game because of standing implications. You see how great Draymond is all year, and then you see him go to the level he was last night. Obviously, with an assist from a lot of guys, including Jonathan Kuminga, which we'll get to in a bit. But that, to me, is why I believe in the Warriors, is I know how great Draymond is at his average setting, and I know what level he can go to when he has to go to that level. And he's a one-man shutdown defense, and I just thought he was incredible.
I think if Draymond Green wanted to just send one game to all the voters, to make his case for first team All NBA defense, or he thinks he could be defensive player of the year. He probably will get some votes for that. It's this game, maybe last night. His positioning defensively, his commitment to it, like the amount of energy, and I've always respected him for it. Sometimes Draymond, with the theatrics and like the constant, screaming at officials and like all of that, like the anger, it takes away from watching him for me sometimes, the enjoyment of watching him. But I can never deny his positioning, his anticipation defensively, in the way he's reading the next action. He's never late on a rotation. He's early or perfectly on time. He's never late. And sometimes actually it's not even his rotation. He'll get there in time when he's covering for somebody else who had a brain lock and didn't rotate the way they're supposed to. And then his active hands at the end of it, the strips, the rake downs, deflecting the ball off guys' knees and sending it the other way, coming up with defensive rebounds in traffic when he's the smallest guy amongst the 3 or 4 guys going for it. He had one of those games last night, man, defensively, that were just special, and including a huge play on LeBron late in the game with a strip when it looked like LeBron had driven him to the point where he had the angle. LeBron typically doesn't get stripped after that kind of leverage at the rim, and Draymond got him low and it was all clean. LeBron couldn't even say anything to the official after that. He wanted to, but then he thought better of it because he knew the replay was going to show it because it was all ball. But Draymond was special in this game defensively, man. There's no other word for it.
And then the shooting for the Warriors is the other piece of this. And to your point, you're not going to get it from Podziemski every single night. 8 of 10. I mean, you're never going to get that again, I don't think, but 8 of 10 from the 3-point line. But they do have guys that can make shots, and they play this style. This is why Jimmy Butler was such a good fit. Whatever you think about him, he does play or is capable of playing a good brand of basketball on both ends of the floor, including on this team where there's a lot of reads, a lot of movement. You have to make quick passes, quick decisions, and find the open guy. And when you do that, you just get your guys in rhythm. And some nights when guys are in rhythm, Moses Moody will go 3 of 6, Podziemski will go 8 of 10. And a lot of the nights it's that Steph Curry is doing those numbers. He didn't do it necessarily last night, but those guys did. And I just buy the Warriors. I'm buying them for those things. I think it's repeatable, it's consistent, and it's really, really tough.
Well, I'm buying them more than I was. And I think, look, their defensive metrics have picked up since they got Butler. That's undeniable. And you can just go look at that tangibly, look at the data. But there are also times I watch them and I'm like, I'm not sure I was seeing something like special defensively. I did last night. Last night I did see something special, because that's also a unique team to play against because of this dual component that they bring with Luka and LeBron. It's so tough because both of those guys can beat you if they get any type of single coverage from anywhere on the floor, but they're also 2 of the best in the league at like making plays for guys on the weak side when there's a lot of traffic. And they've got 2 of those guys. And really Austin Reaves, has turned himself into like an all-star caliber offensive player in this league, man. So you got 3 guys capable of doing that. So that's a real challenge for any defense. And I just thought, man, and look, Lakers ended up with 116, and a lot of that had to do with those late threes.
Yeah.
I mean, Austin Reaves hit 3 of them, I think, in the last couple minutes of the game. LeBron hit 1 too. Like, it really felt more like a 15-point game. And so if they don't hit those threes late, they probably get to 106, 108, something like that. And that's an impressive night. And I just thought all night long, I was noticing how fast they were flying to the ball.
Yep.
To help with penetration, to double in the post and recover out. They were gang rebounding, even though they play smaller lineups. They had all their jerseys in the paint defensively. So I am starting to buy into them more too, Adam. mainly because of that, is because their defense now, to me, is that it's like that level. Like they can raise it to that level that now they're going to have a chance in a series against any of these teams in the Western Conference. So I'm buying into more to the Warriors, I think, right now as we sit here than I have at any point.
And they can do it with switch defense. You know, they can play a lot of different things. They rotate well. They cover for each other well. But they can switch. And I think that's one of the things that if you're just looking at the Lakers and how they look in the regular season versus what teams are going to do in the playoffs, if you're a team that can switch everything and sit down and guard, and again, 116 points, nobody's going to guard LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reaves. That's three phenomenal guys to get by you one-on-one. But if you can do it just a little bit the way the Warriors can, you cut off the knockout punch of the Lakers. And that's why this series right now, they're lined up against each other. And this is why this series would be so fascinating, is I think the Warriors just know how to make the Lakers uncomfortable.
They do. And look, you assume you're going to get something better out of Luka if they ended up seeing these guys down the road. But Luka was awful last night. There's no other word for it. Here's what I think happened. Set his entire night, set the tone for his whole night. All he did in the first quarter of the game, probably the first 18 minutes of the game, was hunt fouls. That's all he was doing, was hunting fouls. And he wasn't getting any calls. So, and so you know how Luka is, like that just as you layer the frustration on top of the frustration on top of the frustration. And you know, his mind's all over the place, man. He again, and we've seen it throughout his career, some nights is not as bad and egregious. It was bad last night, this constant nonstop dialogue with the officials. Starting from the very beginning of the game. He was doing a lot of up fakes. Guys weren't really going for it. He was jumping in and taking these kind of wild off-balance shots, all with the intent of getting a whistle, not with the intent of making the shot. And it got him completely off rhythm. By the time he tried to like find his rhythm and fit more in the flow of the offense, the game had already like gone away from him. Like the game is gone now. You got 4 or 5 guys in this game playing at a really high level offensively. You're not one of them. And like he's still, of course, going to try to make plays down the stretch because he's Luka Doncic and that's what he's used to doing. And it just didn't happen for him, man. Brutal. 6 for 17, 0 for 6 from the 3. You know, he had 8 boards, 7 assists. He's always going to get those kinds of numbers. But in general, I just felt like it was a really subpar offensive performance for him on a night where if he's much better in the first half, maybe this game has a different outcome. But it got to the point where I wasn't even expecting Luka like to inject himself in the game later because he just didn't look like himself at his best. And you know, look, they're going to have a hard time winning games because of his ball dominance and usage. If he has shooting nights like this, they're very susceptible on any night to lose because it's not like LeBron's got the ball all the time and Luka had a rough shooting night off the ball. Like Luka won games like that when Kyrie would have bad nights because Luka had the ball all the time. And what Kyrie did was in short little windows. So you can live with guys like that being off. When the guys got the ball most of the time, you can't survive it. And that's kind of what I felt like last night for the Lakers and Luka. And he's had, look, man, his shooting has been all over the place, but he has a lot of nights that he's been inefficient since he's put a Laker uniform on, and he's going to have to be better when it matters in the playoffs.
So I think you said something that's kind of illuminating right there about Luka, which is that you didn't think at a certain point in the game, and it wasn't the very end, it was maybe the third quarter, at a certain point, you didn't think he was going to get going. It was like you could tell he wasn't. And I think this is one of the things with Luka is that he still has this emotional volatility to him this late in his career that he has to kind of overcome. Oftentimes that emotional volatility gets funneled into this like FU mode and he goes crazy and he gets even extra aggressive. But there are nights when he gets so frustrated that it goes the other direction. Not often, but the Warriors are a team that are going to get physical with you. They're going to throw you off. You know, they're offensive players try to draw fouls on you. You know, getting you off balance. Defensive guys will try to like foul you or get physical with you before you can draw the contact and then get off. And Draymond's great at this. Jimmy's great at this. It bothered him. And then that volatility came in a way that even you, a huge Luka believer, were watching the game and saying, not tonight. He's not going to overcome this tonight.
For sure. And look, here's what's different for Luka in this situation. No matter what the Lakers said and LeBron said from the day he got there about go be you. Go be you. Don't blend in. Be what you were in Dallas. That's why we acquired you. The bottom line is he's never played with someone like LeBron James that cast that kind of a shadow.
Yeah.
I said the same thing about Damian Lillard when he went to Milwaukee the first year. His whole life, he'd been the best player in every team he ever played on. And I'm not saying that, Luka, with this pairing, like Luka is the higher profile player. There's no question. 5 straight years, first team all league. He went to the finals last year. Like there's no doubt about it. Right now, as we currently sit, that's okay because LeBron cast a shadow that in Luka's mind, there's always LeBron's over there. That's LeBron on the other side of the court. That's not Kyrie Irving. That's not Jalen Brunson. That's not Klay Thompson or anybody else he's played with since he's been in Dallas. That's not what that is. That's LeBron James. So even though they wanted him to just go, man, be you, and we'll play off of you all night, the bottom line is he knows that there's another great option over there and a guy that's run every team he's ever been on his whole career. So I don't know if like on some nights is some part of that just like he's not completely psychologically free mentally to just go play exactly how he wants to and exactly how he did in Dallas. And I think that's why you're seeing some of these really tough shooting nights out of him because it's just not the same. The way that the shots come, it's not the same mentality for him because of who he's playing next to and the profile that guy has in this league and the guy that guy has historically. So it's a little bit different for Luka. And that's why I think the consistency just hasn't been there. Now, look, man, he has been a great playoff performer. We'll see what he's able to dial up when they get to the postseason. But, last night I thought almost felt like a playoff game going into it. And a lot of it lived up to a playoff game. The effort for sure. And Luka didn't really at any point kind of inject himself into it. Where this next 5 minutes is Luka taking over. He didn't do that last night. And it was as a result, they weren't going to be able to beat the Warriors who played really well last night, man. I mean, they played really well on both ends. They raised the bar for themselves and they rose to the occasion. And that's the sign of a team that potentially, like you said, you got to watch them because they're starting to make people believe.
Well, one more point on this Luka piece though, because I think it's understated and people that played the game at any sort of high level know what it's like when there's clarity of where the pecking order is and how things go. And not even just pecking order. Pecking order almost sounds like respect for this guy and this and this, but more it's just like, how do we approach this? How do we solve these puzzles? Their late game offense can be Luka goes and kind of does his thing, or LeBron and Austin Reaves have a bit of a 2-man game. They kind of run a pick and roll action and it's very effective. And I think balancing that, it's nice to have 2 punches. But when you don't feel confidence in which one you're supposed to be going to on any possession down the court, it creates hesitancy. And that's, to me, what you're seeing from Luka. I think he got frustrated with the physicality, lack of calls, technical foul that he got. And then I think it was the uncertainty of where do I step into this because they're doing a pretty good job over here and things are going. So do I intercede? And that's just tough. They're going to have to figure it out in the next 5 games.
Yeah, look, no one's, he's had some dominant games since he's been in LA, and we know who this guy is and what he's capable of. So no one's certainly closing the book on this for this season or beyond. But right now, it's not a certainty when you watch Luka, like how he's about to play. And like at his best, there is a certainty. When he was at his best, take any one of the seasons or postseasons in Dallas, at some point, man, he put together a stretch where you were pretty certain how this was about to go. With him. And right now, I think there's a little bit less of that for a variety of reasons. And as a result, it's going to be tough sledding in the West, man, for all of these teams if one of their key guys is in that place where they're not efficient. And for Luka more than any, because of the amount of time the ball spends in his hands, I think the Lakers are going to have a hard time overcoming these type of shooting nights out of him. Yeah. Because it's coming from the point of attack. It's not coming off the ball on catch and shoots. It's not coming as your secondary guy or, the 6 minutes each half when a star's on the bench. No, he is the guy. And so he's got the ball all the time. And when he has nights like this, it's tough, man. But I want to shift gears. Come on, man. You got to own
man,
up.
I was hoping you were going to let me do this one. I was hoping.
Go ahead. I want you to, because you got to.
I got to give a shout out. I got to give some love to one Jonathan Kuminga, who I've been very hard on. Man. Last night, not only did he defend at an extremely high level, and we talk about what kind of guys match up with Luka. He's not bothered by length. You have to have size. Kuminga has both, so he's kind of a unique guy for the Luka equation. But it was even his offense and his decision-making and his control, his fit within the system in this game that was very, very impressive.
Totally agree, man. I'm glad you owned up to that a little bit, and we have some fun with this. It's not like you hate the guy. It's not like you hate the guy, but you've been hard on him. Yeah,
for sure.
At one point, I mean, it sounded almost like you were questioning, like, does this guy really have a place in the rotation as well as they're playing? Like, he's kind of messed them up. Is kind of where I interpreted what you were saying.
Not last night.
And look, and I actually think there was some credence to it. Okay, but at the same time, I also knew he missed a long period of time. I do believe they need him to like really challenge anything in the West and make a run at all. They need Jonathan Kuminga, and you never saw it more on display this year than you did last night. Because that was a high-profile game, and every minute I thought he played with force and he played smart. That's to your point. Offensively, he did things simplistically that were the right decision. And as a result, he found himself in really advantageous positions on the court where he could use his athleticism, could use his strength. He could use his speed in the open floor a couple times to attack. His defense was really committed, and he chipped in on the glass with 9 boards. Like, I'm not sure they win the game last night without what Kuminga did. Despite how great Podziemski was and Curry was great, Draymond Green, we talked about his defense. I don't think they win without like that extra piece that they got out of Jonathan Kuminga, because I thought it was just a great game. And you could see the reaction out of Steve Kerr with some of the stuff Kuminga did, the basic offensive stuff that led to something good for himself. Like Kerr, up, clapping, like he was just happy, because that's been the challenge for them with Jonathan Kuminga. Like, do you make the right reads and do what you're supposed to do simply and with efficiency? And that's not always the case with him, and it was last night, man. And so he played great. He played great. Gave him a nice boost. Really, the only guy that really gave them a ton off their bench at all was Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's dynamic. It's not just doing the system. You're not just a role player. You're a role player, but you have dynamic impact. And that's what he brought to it. And that's why, when I talk about, do you take him out of the rotation or this or that? Because if he's not those things, it can be an anchor. And your point has always been, yes, but when he does those things, it's so much more impactful than anybody else Correct. They have to throw it. And last night he did them. And if they're going to win a championship this year or go deep in the playoffs, he's going to do what he did last night consistently through a playoff run. So we'll see.
What you just did was a great way to sum it up. That's exactly how I feel about it, because I understand where people come from on him. And it's not like, I walk around with a Jonathan Kuminga t-shirt on all day because I'm his fan club. I just know how important he is when he plays well. Yeah. And so you can't give up on him because you're not going anywhere without him. I think you need him. Yeah. And I got one last point on this game. I don't know if you were going to shift gears, but last point, Jimmy Butler played an odd game last night, man. Like, there was nothing that Jimmy Butler did last night where you're watching the game where you went, man, that's all-star level. Like,
yeah,
he was so incredibly quiet offensively. There were guys that I think were better defensively for them than he was. Look at his stat line. I mean, the 11 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. That's his stat line last night. And yet, the data says they're this when Jimmy Butler plays for them. And it was another example last night. So even on a night when he didn't tangibly score big, or like he wasn't the primary defender we were watching have an impact, he clearly has given them so much more confidence that he's on their side. And he did make a couple of big shots late in the game, even though he only took 7 shots on the night. He hit 2 big ones late. But it was just kind of amazing to me to watch, because I kept waiting for him to, like, okay, next 5 minutes, Curry's on the bench. Here goes. Jimmy Butler's going to start to – and he just kept continuing to just make simple basketball plays, not forcing anything.
I kind of love it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly – a lot of guys will try to step outside there. They had a rhythm the whole game. I think they had a little bit of a clunky part there in the first quarter, but they had a rhythm, and I kind of like that he is capable of going outside that, but doesn't do it when he's not supposed to. And maybe you think he should have, because to your point, when Steph's off the court, maybe you need a little bit of punch, but I just like Jimmy on court. I just love Jimmy. I love that he does those things because he never messes up, plays hard. And I think when you talk about confidence, when Jimmy Butler is like, no, I'm not stepping outside the lines, team ball, we're doing our system, I have to imagine it makes it easier for other guys to, like the Kumingas of the world, to say, all right, well, then I'm doing that too.
Seems like it, man. It seems like it. And this is why they wanted him. I think they wanted him even more than they wanted, the rumors about getting Durant back. This was the guy they wanted for a variety of reasons. And the toughness and the edge and the confidence factor plays into it, even on nights when he really didn't do much offensively other than, move the ball appropriately to the right place because he wasn't forcing anything. But now, man, you look up, this has gotten crazy interesting. They're one game back of the Denver Nuggets in the loss column. They play tonight. It's a weird situation too, by the way. It doesn't happen too often. The team you're going to play at home gets there before you do.
Ooh.
Right? So yeah. I'm assuming, right? Denver went there yesterday afternoon, I'm assuming?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So they watched the game last night against the Warriors played against the Lakers. Denver watched that game in San Francisco. And they're just waiting on them. It's unfortunate for the Warriors that they got to do this. That this is such an important game, and they had to go. You played great last night, but that's tough, man. You got to, even though it's a short travel. I know that it's no big deal. Same time zone and all that. It's just short, but at the same time, it's just they played, and now again in a game they committed full effort to, and now you got to turn around and you got a team sitting there waiting on you in your own building. But it is the biggest game of the year for these two teams. Would you agree?
I said that about Wednesday's game against Minnesota for Denver. So why not? Let's do it again. It's the biggest game of the year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of biggest games of the year over this last week, Legs.
Yeah, man. But this one here, because it looks like, okay, Houston is separated, man. Yeah, Houston is going to be the 2 seed. We got to wrap our heads around that. After all this, Houston is the 2 seed. So now this is insane. You've got 6 teams separated by 2 games in the loss column. From 2 to 8 by 2 games. And I haven't even thought about getting into the tiebreakers yet. That'll give you your brain twist. But this one is the one, man. So if Warriors win this game,
Denver's in a bad
still
spot.
A half game back of the Lakers. But then they'll be a half game back of Denver at that point?
Yeah, I think a half game back of both, but tied with Denver in the loss column, which is the big one there.
Yeah. So it's this is it, man. This is the one you got to circle because this legitimately would give Golden State a chance at the 3 seed. And you look where this team was prior to the trade deadline. It was inconceivable that could happen.
Denver rested their guys earlier this week against San Antonio, lost that game. I think they were hoping they could rest and get a win, but they lost that game. And so now it sets up this one, which is just kind of in some ways for all the marbles between these two teams. And it's a good style fight where you could switch everything if you're the Warriors against the Lakers. You can't do that with Jokic. And so it's a nice sort of clash of styles, and we'll see what happens with it. Really, really interesting game tonight. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, there was another interesting game with a great finish. Ja Morant hitting a buzzer beater, a true buzzer beater to give the Grizzlies a very important win. We'll get to that one on the other side. There are plenty of fitness influencers that are trying to sell you less but charge you more. Fitbod combines the workout planning and tracking you need to stay consistent and make progress. Fitbod customizes every workout and adapts as you improve to avoid boredom and plateaus with your journey. It's really cool, man. It's almost like a semi-AI, not really a true AI, but a semi-AI where you just give it all your information and say, hey, I'm trying to accomplish these goals. I have this much time and I have this equipment available to me. Give me a workout plan. And then it tailors ones perfectly for what your goals are. It's really impressive thing when you log onto the app and use it because it has so many different resources. It even will help you stay accountable, give you push notifications that you can kind of curate. Say, hey, remind me on this day. I know I'm going to be a little tired. I'm going to be lazy. Send me a reminder. Get me out of bed. Let's go do this thing. And it can really track your progress step by step by step. It's like having a personal assistant right in your pocket or a personal trainer right in your pocket. And if you are new to working out, it shows you in very clear detail how to go through new exercises. If you're experienced, but you have to do something that you don't have a lot of equipment, how do I get a workout with only the equipment I have? It'll show you new workouts so that you can maximize what limited resources you have. It's really impressive. Level up your workout. Join Fitbod today to get your personalized workout plan. Get 25% off your subscription or try the app free for 7 days at fitbod.me/allNBA. That's fitbod.me/allNBA, or you can check the description of this show. I don't know. I know I don't look it. I know I don't act it. I know I don't sound it, but I am 41 years old. I'm starting to get a little bit older. And so I now look to different supplements that can help me feel best, feel young, and slow the aging process. The cells in our bodies are the building blocks of life. Timeline is a supplement that works with those cells to give you more energy, feel stronger during workouts, and preserve health and mobility as you start to age. The patented ingredient is called MitoPure, a postbiotic nutrient that clears out dysfunctional mitochondria, aka your cells' battery pack. With regular use, you can see and feel a difference in the form of improved energy levels, better workouts, faster recovery, more endurance. MitoPure recharges your cells and helps your body system to work better. MitoPure is the only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level. If you're curious about this, it really is a cool thing. Get ready to be your best, most energized, most revitalized self. Right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off your order of MitoPure. You go to timeline.com/allNBA to get started. It's also in the description of the show. Timeline.com/allNBA and use that code AllNBA to get your discount. All right, back here, segment 2 of the All NBA show, getting you ready for your weekend here on a Friday. But let's rewind real quick, Legs, and talk about Ja Morant getting the first win since they moved on from Taylor Jenkins, they being the Memphis Grizzlies. And they got it over the Miami Heat in a thriller 110-108 that ended with Ja Morant doing something that he does, coming up clutch with a big elbow, little push off, a little drive to the basket, clear some space, step back, and elevate for a shot that just slowly bounced around the rim as the clock expired before dropping in. What did you make of that shot, and what do you make of this game?
All right, let's start with the shot. My first question is, I far be it from me to question Eric Spoelstra. Everybody kind of knows how I feel about Eric Spoelstra. I think he's top 5 coach in the league. I don't understand the mentality behind switching a really a non-screen that was set to set up that matchup for the shot, because he comes up the floor, Davion Mitchell's guarding him, and he's a high-level on-ball defender. He's a little bit smaller, but the guy's a great on-ball defender. So you come across half court and you just call over the screen to get the switch and get a center on you. And here's the thing. Here's why it's interesting. Ja Morant wasn't even trying to go downhill because the clock, he wanted to make sure he took this shot at the end of the game. At this point, you're looking at a 6, 7, 8 seconds, whatever it was, as he's crossing half court, maybe more. He's not in any hurry. He's not even looking at the rim. He just sort of started dribbling sideways along the half court line. Screen set. There is at least 8. I froze it to look at it. There's at least 8 to 10 feet of space between where Ja Morant is with the ball and where the screen is set. And Mitchell could have gone over the top and met him on the other side. He could have gone under that screen if he wanted to, because Ja Morant was 45 feet from the basket. Instead, they just automatically switch it. Okay, switch, because this is just what we do. So now Ja Morant gets this 7-footer on him. Granted, an athletic guy, but Khalil Ware Ja Morant did exactly what he wanted to do. He drove it hard at him. He got him to backpedal as far as he could, knowing that he could stop and go to that little lean back shot. And whenever he was going to do it in his mind, there's no way a big guy can react in time to contest that shot. And if you look at the amount of separation he got, you could say he gave a little push off, whatever. I mean, that's just common practice for offensive players in this league. I don't think it was anything egregious. It was more about using a 7-footer's momentum against him. He was backpedaling to the rim, and all of a sudden, he plants, and now he's got to go extend and get a hand up at 10 feet. That was the easiest shot Ja Morant will ever have to win a game. Yeah. And he made it. He got a soft roll, and it bounced in, and he wins the game. I don't understand. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw the play. Why switch that? All this unnecessary switching. I just don't get it. Put your better on-the-ball defender and a guard on him. And let's see how that plays out. I guarantee you he would have had to take a tougher shot.
Yeah. And he might have. I love Davion Mitchell. He is a little small, but I love Davion Mitchell because, to your point, he's like a spider. You can't shake him. He's so strong. He stays in front of you. He's a little pit bull. So I like his defense, and you're right about that call. And I don't mean to imply that it was a foul on Ja. I was really more giving Ja credit that he has a bigger guy on him, gives him the body bump to just create the space. And, it was a strong play from a very skinny guy. Overall, what do you make of the Grizzlies? They've obviously been struggling just over this last couple of games. Not a huge sample size, but sometimes you fire a coach, bring someone in, and there's this bounce. We saw it with Sacramento, right? They got a new coach, new life. The opposite was true for Memphis, and it was at a point in their season when they desperately needed wins, 3-7 in their last 10. So what do you make of them right now?
I mean, look, I hear what you're saying, and I've actually said that to you before about the bump. Typically, though, that firing comes much earlier in the season, and at like the latest would be like midpoint. You know what I mean? And I played on a team where a guy was fired All-Star weekend. So you're talking at that point, like 30 games left. And the reason you get to that point is because it's a pretty miserable situation. So yeah, the next day you walk in, and and there are guys that love the coach. So that's not a happy day for you. But regardless, the air in the locker room is definitely better, because for a guy to get fired, it couldn't have been a great environment every day for whatever reason. But this late in the year, Adam, I mean, first of all, I do think Taylor Jenkins is a really good coach. I think he's really smart. He's gonna be at the top of some teams' list on the offseason, depending how many coaching changes we get. So I feel that way about him, but I also just feel like there's nothing you could say to me, nothing that you could tell me you're selling. This was better for this year. No way. And really, what else matters? Because if you're going to fire a guy this late, why wouldn't you just let Taylor Jenkins finish out the playoffs? You clearly have a better chance to win with Taylor Jenkins coaching your team in this year's playoffs than what you ended up doing. So forget beyond this year. That's a whole nother conversation, because you can make that decision in the summer. They go lose in the first round. All right, fire Taylor Jenkins if that's what you want to do, and go do a coaching search and get the guy you want. And now talk about going forward. This is what we want. This doesn't help you win this year. And I think, look, their play has been a little reflective of that, I think, especially defensively. They get a win last night. It's not like Miami's some juggernaut. They beat the Heat, fairly low scoring game. They get a game winner to do it. Doesn't change the way I think about Memphis. I don't think that this is going to be something ultimately that's going to help them win around in the postseason or more. And so if you don't believe that, why make that decision? You could do it after the year. So it's been a head scratcher for me the entire time. And I haven't seen anything where I look at and go, oh, okay, this is much better now without Taylor Jenkins there. So I just don't understand it.
And they were losing to really good teams. I mean, they went on a murderer's row: OKC, LA, Boston, Golden State. But the thing is with Memphis, we kind of don't expect them to beat those teams. So we say, oh, they lost 4 in a row, but they were all the tough teams. They're in a position in the same tier with some of those teams, and yet we're not necessarily surprised. And now they, with this win, thankfully, they find themselves now that basically at a tie for the 6, 7, 8 seed, which is so fascinating, because now we don't know who's going to be in the play-in. We don't know who's going to be hosting a first round. Their swing is the wildest of all of them.
No, 2 things. It's all you know. I think now who the 1 and 2 are going to be. That's it. Those 2 teams, Houston, Oklahoma City, they're going to be, if they win, hosting 2 rounds. That's all you know. These other matchups, some of them, I mean, they're so fascinating to think like what you could end up with. I think it's safe to say Sacramento, Dallas, well, they're going to be 9-10, so you do know that. They're going to be 9-10.
Phoenix does,
yeah, I guess. Look, Phoenix is a game out. I mean,
you watched them up close and just said, never, dude, no, they're out.
My last sighting of the Phoenix Suns is just something that's going to be hard to get out of my mind. Okay? It really is. And what Boston did to them that night, it's going to be hard for me to just erase that, man. So, I hear you, though. They're a game back. I guess they're not out of it either. Durant should be coming back maybe in a couple of games, so we'll see. But man, it's fascinating. All these potential matchups, each compelling in their own right, however this plays out. But at one point, Memphis thought they could be the 2 seed. And now they sit here and they're potentially the 8. Yeah. So, it definitely is not going the way they wanted it to. And it shows you how tough the West is, man. You're sitting at the 6th spot at 45 and 32. Anything below the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference is sub 500. So it's just a different world out in the West, man. And the number of wins you have to get to solidify yourself with the top 3 or top 4 seed.
Legs, think about this. It's not inconceivable. In fact, it's not even that unlikely that Denver could be in the play-in a week from now, meaning when the play-in begins. They're 2 games up. They play Golden State tonight. If you lose that game, you're now hanging by a thread. One game. And they play Memphis again this year. You just lose those 2 games and nothing else, you might find yourself in the play-in. The West is crazy. This finish to it is really, really interesting, and it's going to be a good finish. Let's now, though, turn our attention to our weekend slate as we do every single Friday, because there's nothing but great games over the weekend. This segment is presented by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllNBA. Nuggets, Warriors tonight, Thunder, Rockets, Mavs, Clippers, 3 really good ones. I'm watching all 3. I'm locked in.
Man, that is good. I mean, if you didn't have Nuggets, Warriors, man, you'd be like, wow, that's awesome. OKC, Houston. This is a statement game. They could see each other down the road in the conference finals potentially. Oklahoma City has 3-game lead now over Cleveland, so it feels pretty much like they got home court throughout the NBA Finals if they wanted. I do think, man, there's something about their team that, despite the fact that they could probably, not show Houston a whole lot or whatever, they don't think that way, man. And also, I saw someone in the chat ask about 70 wins. We asked Mark Dagnall that exact question the other night when we had the game, because they had 7 games left at that point with 63 wins. Of course, they won that night against the shorthanded Detroit team. It ended up being a really good game. They got 64 now with 6 to go. The last 3 games of the year, you're playing all teams most likely not playing for anything. So just give them those 3. So it comes down to these next 3. Houston, and then they got the Lakers twice. So I think 70 is something they kind of want. Dagnall, of course, wouldn't say that. He downplayed it, as is his fashion to do. I think it does matter, and that's why I think they also would like to send a little bit of a message to Houston. Oh, you're the 2 seed? We're going to show you the difference between 1 and 2. Yeah. Because when they turn it up, very few teams can turn it up the way OKC can, especially in the defensive end of the floor. So that's going to be a great one too.
We go back to the graphic here. Saturday, Grizzlies at Pistons is also good. Grizzlies have a tough one, tough finish to the year. Grizzlies at Pistons, Mavs at Clippers, Bucks at Heat. Another one. 3 great games. What do you think?
Yeah, I like the Memphis-Detroit game. I was so impressed with seeing Detroit the other night, even though, think about this, they didn't have Cade Cunningham. They had 3 other guys suspended for that fight they got into.
Yeah.
And in the game, Tobias Harris, who was playing really well, 5 for 8 from the field, his Achilles tendonitis flares up. He leaves. They're 5 guys, including their best player by far, and then 4 other major rotational players don't play, and they had that game to within 4 points with 3 minutes to go against the Thunder on their court, because they do not stop fighting you. So I'm impressed with them. So I think Memphis, Detroit, that could be a lot of fun.
And by the way, on that slate right there, Bucks and Pistons are both tied in the standings. They both play. So and they both play tough games. So that one we could see a flop in the standings between those 2 teams, which would be crazy. And then Sunday, we're going to be talking about these games on our Monday show. Lakers at Thunder, Pacers at Nuggets, Rockets at Warriors. Look at this weekend, Legs. 3 great games every single night.
It'll be the rare Sunday that's not in the NFL season when I'm just going to tell my wife to leave me alone. She knows that's typically what happens on Sunday during the NFL season. Yeah. That's my time. But I usually don't do that too much to her during the NBA season. I think Sunday is setting itself up that way, because think about we're sitting here, it's Friday, but there's going to be even much more implications for those Sunday games after tonight. That's what's crazy about it, right? That's really going to set the table for what we see on Sunday.
It's really going to be a phenomenal one. And we're going to be having a show for you. We'll probably record it Sunday night, might drop it very early for you on Monday morning, but Legs and I are going to have some almost instant reactions to that Sunday night slate, which will be great. Kind of a little bit different setup. We might go live that night. We might do a record. I don't know. You can let us know in the comments what you prefer. Do you prefer a very, very late night live show, or do you prefer us to drop it in the morning for you so it's in your inbox by the time you wake up? Let us know. We're about a week away from the end of the season, a little bit more than a week away from the end of the season. It was a great week. Really good stuff, but next week is going to be an all-timer, and I can't wait for it. Hit that outro music, James. I know we have one super chat. What do we got? R3DH3RO says, I just want to thank Tim for always showing love to my Pacers. Not many people do that. Also, ignore my gamer type of username, and jaw traveled. LOL. Man, we talked about the bump, the shoulder bump, the travel. Somebody's calling out the travel.
I mean, I've stopped going in on the traveling in these late game situations, because it's too common on replays, man, what you're getting. So I don't even bother with that. But I appreciate, his point about the Pacers. Yeah, man, I've always got an eye on them, man. I don't think they get any talk at all nationally, and I've got an eye on them, man, because I do still believe that when they play really well, particularly Halliburton, when he's aggressive, I think the Indiana Pacers could really take just about any team in the Eastern Conference to a very tough, long series, including the top two teams. I think that they could be on the floor with those teams and win games in those series against Cleveland and Boston.
Yeah. Hit that outro music for us, James. Everybody, thanks so much for tuning in for us all week long. We're going to be back, like I said, next week for the end of the regular season, which should be an all-timer. Make sure you're subscribed, not just here on YouTube, although certainly on YouTube, but also wherever you get your podcasts. Let's get these subscribers up right before we go into the playoff stretch, which is the best hoops of the entire year. Hit that like button on the way out. See you guys Monday.
Silly like the mayor.